So I've been using M1 Finance for the past 3 years now, and I've been doing articles and videos about them for about the same period of time. Since my original review of M1 Finance back in 2018, a lot has changed, and that's what we're going to cover in this review today. I've honestly spent hundreds of hours using the app, writing articles about it, or making videos, so I think I have a very good idea of both the pros and the cons of this investing and financial app. So let's dive right in. We're going to start off with a quick review of M1 Finance before jumping into the tutorial section of the video. They offer both a desktop platform and a mobile app. I'll be showing you how to use both later on in the video. And as always, there's a table of contents down in the description below if you decide that you want to skip ahead at any point in time. So let's start off here with the M1 Finance review. So over the last few years, M1 Finance has grown a lot, and now they break their products into 4 main categories. That is M1 Invest, M1 Borrow, M1 Spend, and the new M1 Owner's Rewards credit card. We're mostly going to focus on the investing side of things, but I am going to cover all of this in the review today. So starting off here, guys, let's talk more about M1 Invest. So through M1 Invest, you can build an automated portfolio starting with as little as $100. And that $100 is fully invested. No fees or commissions are paid to M1 Finance in order to invest. M1 Finance does charge money for some of their other services, which we will discuss later. So they're not operating a charity here. They do make money, but they're not making money by simply charging commissions on trades or collecting management fees for portfolios. Now, one of the key differences between M1 Finance and other financial apps out there is that M1 Finance takes a portfolio-based approach to investing. When you invest, you have to create something called a pie, which is going to become your overall investment portfolio, and I'm going to show you step by step how to do that later on. But everything related to your M1 Invest account comes back to this investment pie or investment portfolio. So just like your grandmother's apple pie, she's going to cut that up into slices, and your M1 Finance pie is no different. Every slice of that pie is going to be a different index fund or stock that you choose to add to that portfolio. Or if you have no idea what you're doing, M1 Finance does offer expert-built portfolios that are completely free to invest in. There's no commissions and no management fees charged by M1 Finance. You will pay expense ratios associated with the underlying index funds, but you're going to pay those regardless of what brokerage you use to invest in those funds. So with M1 Finance, you basically pick and choose a number of stocks and ETFs, and then you set a percentage adding up to a total of 100, and that is the overall split of your M1 Finance pie. Or if you use a pre-built portfolio, all of those percentages are predetermined without you having to really do anything. So just for example's sake, let's say you wanted to invest in FANG, you would have to add Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google, each as a slice of your overall pie. After that, you would set a percentage of how much of the overall portfolio goes into these individual stocks. So obviously, guys, if you wanted it to be an even 5-way split, you would put 20% into each stock for a total of 100. Or for example, if you were more bullish on Google, you might want to put 40% in Google and split the remaining 60% up in 15% increments across the other 4 stocks. Now, the smallest percentage a slice can make up within your portfolio is 1%. So theoretically, if you wanted to, you could have up to 100 different stocks or index funds / ETFs within your M1 Finance portfolio, assuming each one equaled just 1%. But don't worry about remembering all of this now, guys. I'm going to show you step by step how to build an M1 Finance pie later on in the app demo section of this tutorial. So the very first step with M1 Invest, outside of just opening up a brokerage account, is going to be setting up your PI. I'm going to show you guys step by step later on what is involved with that process. Also, I am affiliated with M1 Finance, so if you guys want to give back to me for putting this video together, there's going to be a link down in the description below to download M1 Finance, or I'll throw a QR code up on the screen right now if you want to snap a picture with your phone to download, basically at no additional cost to you. If you decide to use my link, I may earn a commission in the process. It is very much appreciated, but of course, never expected. So once you figure out your investment PI, whether you are making your own custom PI or using one of the free expert PIs, after that, it's pretty much time to take advantage of the number of automation tools built in with M1 Invest. The first one to cover here is dynamic rebalancing. Basically, anytime money flows in or out of the portfolio, it rebalances the portfolio. What this means is that everything in your portfolio is going to behave differently at different times. So even if you started off with a 20% even split of FANG, 6 months later, it's most likely, it's almost guaranteed, not going to be that same 20%. One of those stocks is going to do better than the others, and maybe that's going to now carry 25% weight. And then maybe one of the stocks didn't do so well, so now you're underweight, sitting at 15%. A lot of people never really think about portfolio diversification, and this can cause you to be under diversified, or it could have you overweight in certain stocks without even knowing it, just because of how much they have gone up since you purchased them. So if you were to add money to your M1 portfolio in the form of a deposit or earned dividends, assuming you have auto invest turned on, they're going to automatically buy whatever you are underweight in. So basically, in that past example, whatever stock that you now only have 15% allocation of instead of 20, it's going to buy more of that to try to bring you back up to that 20% level. On the other hand, if you take money out of your portfolio and you sell, it's going to sell whatever you're overweight in. That way, they're trying to return you to that even 20% split or whatever you set previously as closely as possible. So as long as you are consistently adding money to your portfolio in the form of deposits or dividends, it's basically going to do its best to keep you as close as possible to those target allocations. Now, you can manually rebalance your entire portfolio. However, do keep in mind that can result in some short-term capital gains, which is something that you may not want to pay because it's basically higher taxes on a profit from the stock market, whereas if you held it for longer than a year, you'd pay a lot less in taxes. So that's the first piece of automation involved with M1 Invest. The second piece here is considering scheduled contributions, say $100 a week or a month. It depends on your own financial situation. You can literally put your entire portfolio on autopilot where you have new money going in at a set recurring schedule, and the dynamic rebalancing is going to automatically keep you as close as possible to those target allocations. Or if you want to take a more manual approach to all of this, you can turn off the auto invest feature and manually invest into the whole portfolio, or manually invest money into individual stocks, which I will show you how to do later on in the tutorial. So in terms of investment selection, here's what you're going to find on M1 Finance. They support the major listed New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ stocks and ETFs, so you're not going to find any over-the-counter stocks, pink sheets, or things like that on this brokerage platform. Not to mention here, guys, M1 Finance is really designed to be a more long-term investing platform. It's really not an ideal platform for swing trading or day trading, so honestly, you're not really going to have any use for penny stocks on this platform anyway. You can oftentimes find stocks on the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ trading at under $5 per share. These are technically penny stocks. You could invest in them if you wanted to, but you're not going to find a wide array of penny stocks. But for the most part, those aren't really great investments anyway. Now, one limiting factor of M1 Finance that's very important to be aware of is the the trading windows. So basically, because M1 Finance is a completely free platform in terms of no management fees and no trading commissions, they do have to do some things in order to save money. And one of those is processing all trades in bulk at the same time in the morning. And then they also offer an afternoon trading window for M1 Plus members. So do keep that in mind here, guys. If you are somebody who likes to execute trades at a very set point throughout the trading day, you are not able to do that with M1 Finance. All of your trades are going to be placed in the morning around 9:30 a.m. Unless you have an afternoon trading window as part of M1 Plus, then you get a second trading window in the afternoon at around 3 p.m. So if you're somebody who likes to trade in and out of stocks frequently, this is probably not the platform for you. But if you're somebody who's looking to invest in dividend stocks for the long term with dividend reinvestment, if you're an index fund investor or a long-term growth investor, whatever it may be, that is what M1 Finance is really designed to do, is this long-term investing. And for that style of investing, it doesn't really matter, if you sell your shares at 9:30 a.m. versus 12 p.m. versus 3 p.m., just because you have a more long-term outlook and you're not as concerned with the day-to-day fluctuations. However, if you are an active trader, that is very important, and that trading window is probably going to be a very limiting factor for you. The last thing I want to mention here as part of the invest section is that for those who are looking to invest for retirement, M1 Finance does offer retirement accounts. Same thing as before, no trading commissions, no management fees. The only difference is the minimum to open up an account for a retirement account is $500 versus $100 for your traditional taxable M1 Finance brokerage account. So that being said, guys, let's now talk about M1Borrow, the second product offering from M1. So M1Borrow is a really nice feature that I honestly use quite a bit, and it's available to those with $5,000 or more of marginable stocks or ETFs in their portfolio. Essentially, M1Borrow is a low-cost portfolio line of credit with no credit check whatsoever. So if you're somebody who uses borrowed money, whether it's for renovations on your house or buying a new car or things like that, this could be an awesome option for getting access to low interest capital by drawing on your portfolio with a line of credit. So with M1Borrow, you can borrow up to 35% of the value of your portfolio and have it deposited right to your bank account or to your brokerage account. So if you wanted to borrow money to invest in the stock market, which I personally don't recommend, they do have that option available. Or if you're looking to draw on that basically for revolving expenses or improvements on your home, something like that, this option is available. Personally, I used my M1Borrow towards my Jeep that I purchased. Basically, instead of doing a smaller down payment, I used M1Borrow, got about 30 grand at 2% interest because I have M1 Plus, and I put that money down on the vehicle because my auto loan was somewhere around 6 or 7%. So you can use M1Borrow in those scenarios, and it can actually save you money if managed responsibly. Also, do keep in mind that even though the M1Borrow rates have been the same for the last couple of years, they can change at any point in time based on the federal funds interest rate. So the standard rate for M1Borrow for eligible users is 3.5%. But if you do have the M1 Plus subscription, that brings it down to a discounted interest rate of just 2%. So let's say, for example, you had $100,000 invested and you had M1 Plus, which is $125 per year. Assuming that all of these stocks and ETFs are ones that you can borrow against, and you can do this with almost all of them that are over $5 per share, you would be able to borrow $35,000 at 2% interest with no credit check. Not to mention, you could literally make that request on a Monday and most likely have those funds in your bank account or your brokerage account by the end of that week. And then in terms of repaying that loan, you're able to repay out of your brokerage account, where it's going to sell off a little bit of your stocks to pay the interest payment. Or if you want to basically pay back the entire loan out of your brokerage account, you can do that as well. Or you can make payments right from your linked bank account. Also, last thing to consider here, keep in mind that because it is a portfolio line of credit, your stocks or ETFs serve as collateral for that loan. So if there was some freak event, or if you made some really bad decisions and the value of your portfolio dropped substantially, I'm talking like probably 50% or more, there is a possibility that they could liquidate some of those assets, aka sell them, in order to cover that loan. So that is something to keep in mind as well if you do decide to use this feature. So the next M1 product to cover here is M1 Spend. M1 Spend is a digital bank account that integrates directly with your M1 Invest account. You can also tie it in with M1Borrow if you choose to utilize that portfolio line of credit that we just talked about. Essentially, all of the M1 products work together in one app seamlessly, allowing you to spend money out of a checking account, borrow money, invest, and then also utilize a credit card if you wish, which we will discuss next. Essentially, it's the convenience of having everything in one place, making it much easier to keep track of your money, automate things, and make sure that things are not slipping through the cracks, such as, credit card payments and things like that. So M1 Spend is basically a checking account that comes with a Visa debit card. I will say this, the perks are much better for the M1 Spend card when you have the M1 Plus account, which again is $125 per year, and we're going to cover what that unlocks for you later on in this review when we specifically talk about M1 Plus. However, even if you just have the basic level of M1 Spend, you do get your paycheck up to 2 days early when you have direct deposit, and you also get 1 monthly ATM reimbursement, all for free. So now we're going to cover the M1 Owners Rewards credit card, which is now the newest product offering from M1 Finance. And again, guys, you don't have to utilize all of these different products if you don't want to, but there is the benefit of everything working together seamlessly. So with the M1 Owners Rewards credit card, it is basically a rewards credit card where rewards are invested instead of spent. So most credit card rewards add up to be spent on consumer purchases, which are usually dead money. Maybe you buy a shirt or a Christmas gift for somebody, and it kind of goes nowhere after that. This credit card earns you money that can be automatically invested. Plus, you can earn up to 10% rewards when you support participating companies that you own shares of. So it's basically a credit card that integrates directly with your M1 portfolio. All purchases are going to earn a standard 1.5% cash back. However, purchases with participating companies where you also own shares of them within an M1 Invest account can earn 2.5, 5, or 10% cash back, and the monthly reward limit is $200. Do keep in mind here that the monthly limit is $200 on those rewards, and you do have to have an active M1 Plus subscription in order to apply for this card. Now, there is an annual fee of $95 associated with this credit card. However, if you have an active M1 Plus account, they're going to reimburse that back to you. So now let's cover some of those participating companies. In the 10% cashback category, you have AMC, which is a favorite among many retail investors. I myself am also a shareholder in AMC Ape, so that's pretty awesome to see that on here, as well as GameStop, Tesla, Netflix, and more. If you shop with these companies and you want to or already own shares of them, you could be earning 10% cash back on your purchases, which would then be invested back into your portfolio. The 5% category includes brands like Starbucks, Nike, Chipotle, FedEx, and then the 2.5% cashback category includes Apple, Amazon, eBay, Walmart, and more. So this isn't just like random brands that people don't really use. These are places that most of us are shopping at every single week. And if you own shares of them and you want to use this credit card, you could earn that really awesome cash back, which can automatically be reinvested. Now, do keep in mind, however, that this is still a credit card, and credit cards are designed to take money out of your pocket in the form of interest. So if you do decide to utilize this, I would certainly recommend that you pay off your balance in full every single month to avoid paying interest entirely. So you would essentially just be getting the free rewards bonus points invested back into your portfolio without having to worry about paying interest to the credit card company. There's also no set rule on what is considered to be a shareholder, and since M1 Finance offers fractional shares, it's really easy to qualify for this if you decide to use the owner's rewards credit card. So for example, you could theoretically own 1/100th of a share of Walmart, which would cost you somewhere around $1 to $2, and then earn the same cash back using your credit card. You still count as a Walmart shareholder, even though it's just a fractional share, which is pretty cool. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities for rewards hacking with this credit card. I personally don't do that as much myself just because it's not the best use of my time, but I know a lot of people are into that, so it is something that you might be interested in. So before we get into the M1 tutorial and app demo, I want to quickly cover M1 Plus, which is their paid annual subscription of $125 per year. I've been using M1 Plus for the last 2 years. Pretty much for me, the discounted borrow rate in and of itself makes it worth it, but it all depends on, what products you actually plan on using. Nonetheless, here's a full rundown of what M1 Plus gets you. Number one, it's going to give you the additional afternoon trading window at 3 p.m. instead of just the morning trading window at 9:30. Number two, you can set up smart transfers, which are basically automation rules for your M1 spend checking account. Number three, you can create custodial accounts, which is basically an investment account for a child managed by an adult. Number four, that discounted M1Borrow rate, bringing it down from 3.5% down to 2%. Number five, this is pretty massive here. With the M1 Spend checking account, if you have an M1 Plus subscription, you earn 1% APY on your checking deposits and unlimited 1% cash back with the M1 Spend Visa debit card. You heard that correctly, guys. Yes, that is a debit card that allows you to earn cash back, which is pretty unheard of. Number six, it offers you 4 monthly ATM reimbursements with the M1 Spend debit card versus just 1. Number seven, 0 international fees on debit purchases. Number 8, you can actually send paper checks from within the M1 Finance app. I haven't done this myself, but that does sound pretty cool, I must say. And then number 9, of course, with the M1 Plus account, you are now eligible for the Owner's Rewards credit card application. So just to wrap things up here, guys, before we jump into the demo, let's cover what I see are the pros and the cons of M1 Finance. Starting off with the pros. Well, that pie-based investing keeps you locked into a portfolio-based approach, and that is one that most investors have success with. So essentially, that portfolio or pie-based approach sort of protects you from you. Oftentimes in the stock market, you are your own worst enemy, and if you can't just easily buy and sell and trade all throughout the day, it sort of stops you from doing that, and oftentimes that's when we're making bad decisions anyway. Second of all, I think M1Borrow is great for avoiding banks for loans. It's a flexible line of credit you can draw on at any time. You can also use it as sort of a low interest emergency fund. So M1Borrow is honestly one of my favorite parts of the entire suite of products. The portfolio level dividend reinvestment is going to spread your dividends across your entire portfolio and allow you to earn compound interest if you are interested in doing that, or you can basically take those dividends, manually invest them yourself, or you can deposit them into your bank account. The dynamic rebalancing combined with fractional shares takes a lot of the management tasks out of investing, and I don't really like managing my money. It's not my favorite thing to do, so anything I can automate is definitely a plus for me. There's many angles for credit and debit card reward hacks if you want to maximize your rewards and your investments. Also, the app on both desktop and mobile is a very sleek app, very transparent. It's an awesome platform. I've been using it for over 3 years, and I can't remember a time that they've had a major outage or a breach or anything like that. So honestly, all around, I've had a pretty solid experience using M1 Finance. As far as the cons here go, number one, you will likely need a separate brokerage account for your short-term trades. So for me personally, I do a lot of long-term investing on M1 Finance, and I do my trading in other investing apps that are sort of more geared towards active trading. Another con is that the trading windows are limiting for some. So if you want to be able to, execute trades and get in and out of stocks throughout the day, this is just simply not the brokerage for you. And then lastly, there is no crypto trading as of yet with M1 Finance. Maybe they will offer it in the future, but there's no plans to speak of right now. Okay guys, so let's open up the M1 Finance app now on my phone for the app demo. Also, the very first step here is going to be downloading M1 Finance. Again, if you want to support me for making this video, feel free to use my link down below, or it's ryanoscribner.com/M1-finance, or I'll throw the QR code up on the screen. You can simply scan it with your phone and follow along step by step. So now we're going to open up the app on my phone and get started. Okay guys, so here we are inside of my M1 Finance account. This is just my regular taxable account, and I'm going to show you a full demo of this later on in my full portfolio in the desktop section. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to jump over to the retirement account that I have here with M1 Finance. I actually never put any money into it just because I would have to do a backdoor Roth IRA. I'm not entirely sure how to do that yet, so it's just something I've never really gotten around to, but it does work really good for demonstration purposes. I can show you how to build a pie. So when you open up an account with M1 Finance, the very first thing they're going to ask you for is your email and password. After that, you have to open up a full-fledged brokerage account where they're going to ask you for things like your social security number, address, etc. for reporting to the IRS. After that, you're going to connect your bank account, and then you are going to create your pie. So at this point, let me jump over into the other account that I have, and we're going to basically walk you through that step by step. So you're going to see a screen that looks similar to this, and it says basically to start investing, you have to choose your securities. So let's go ahead and pick a couple of stocks. So right off the bat here, they're going to offer you a list of popular stocks by market cap. These are the ones that most people tend to invest in. And if you want to add it to your portfolio, you simply hit the plus button. So what we're going to do is we're going to make that same FANG portfolio that we talked about earlier. So we're going to add Amazon, we're going to add Google, Apple, and we're going to now have to search for Netflix and then Facebook, which is now Meta, whatever that is. So let's look for Netflix now, add that, and then Facebook, which is called, well, I guess it's still called Facebook on this app, but I think the name has changed, so it might update at some point. So once you decide on the slices for your pie, you're going to click on Done. And again, if you want some advice, you can go over here and you can look at funds, you can look at expert pies if you don't really know what to choose. And there's all of these different categories, but we're going to cover more of this in the desktop section of the tutorial. For now, I'm just going to click on Done, and this is where you have to name your portfolio. So I'm just going to call this one FANG all caps. And then we click on the Done button, and at this point, this is where you're going to set your target allocations. So by default, it's going to make it an even 20% for everything. But let's say, for example, you were very bullish on Apple. You could click on Apple here, and then you can get more information about them, or click in this box here and you can adjust that percentage accordingly. So I just bumped it up to 30%, which means I need to now remove 10% from other slices to get back to 100. So let's say we take 5 out of Amazon, and then we take 5 out of Google. Now we have a FANG portfolio, but it's not equally weighted. It's overweight in Apple. So once you're done with that, you're going to click on done, and it's going to basically prompt you to connect your bank account and make your initial deposit. I'm going to stop here just because, like I said, I would have to do a backdoor Roth IRA, and I'm not going to go through that right now, but this is where you would connect your bank and make your initial deposit. Okay guys, so here we are inside of the desktop app now, and we're going to go ahead and show you a lot of different functionalities here. So right off the bat in the front here, it's going to show you the name of your portfolio, which you set yourself or your Pi, the current value, and it shows you your starting value as well as the net cash flow of money going into your portfolio. Now, based on that, they're going to give you a total gain here and a total return. But it's important to note, and this is a little bit complicated, but this return here is a money-weighted return. There's something else called a time-weighted return, which is the one that most of us are more familiar with, and this is the one you're going to view over on the Holdings tab. So if you're looking at your M1 account and it's showing you a different number here than over on your Holdings tab, that's the difference between your money-weighted return and your time-weighted return. So with this particular portfolio here, guys, no, I didn't lose a ton of money. Basically what happened is around the pandemic, I was piling in a lot of money to this portfolio. I pretty much invested exclusively in blue chip stocks. The value increased quite a bit up to a peak of somewhere around $211,000. And then I sold off about $100,000 from this portfolio just to pay back some debt and allocate some money into different places. But this chart right here is going to basically show you the overall performance of your portfolio. And then if you scroll down here, these are the individual slices of your portfolio. Right now, I'm pretty heavily concentrated into some smaller cap bets. So I only have 4 slices right now. But when this used to be my dividend portfolio, which was more blue chips, I used to have about 15 different dividend aristocrats in this portfolio. Now, as you can see in the bottom left, I do have M1 Plus. So this gives me that afternoon trading window as well as the morning trading window. And the only other things I want to show you right now from this screen are the buy, sell button, rebalance, and then editing your portfolio. So if you wanted to just simply add money or remove money from your entire portfolio, you would click on this blue buy sell button and it would bring up this window here, and it's really quite simple. If you wanted to add $1,000, you would put in 1,000 here, and that does say it exceeds available cash, so of course you would have to do a transfer first, which I'll show you in a second. Or if you were just looking to sell and have that money go into your cash balance, you would type in how much you're looking to sell and then click on continue. Of course, I'm not looking to sell, so I'm just going to hit escape. After that, there is this rebalance button here, and as you can see with this portfolio, my target allocations are a little bit off. For example, my target allocation for Dave & Buster's is 8% and it's sitting at 10.1. My target allocation for Genius is 45. It's sitting at 41.7. So you can see where those numbers are a little bit off. You can simply click on this button to rebalance, and it's going to automatically rebalance your portfolio in the next trading window. However, do keep in mind that could expose you to some short-term capital gains. So you always want to consider the tax consequences before rebalancing your portfolio. Rebalancing is basically initiating a bunch of buy and sell orders. And so obviously, if you're selling something for a profit, that means that you will have to pay taxes since you have now realized that short or long-term capital gain. And then lastly, we have the edit button here, which is if you're looking to change the allocation. If you want to change percentages, you can adjust them here manually or type them in. If you want to remove something entirely, you would bring it down to 0%. And if you wanted to add a new stock or fund to the portfolio, you would click on the blue add button here. We're going to look at the screener section in a little bit. So for now, we're just going to go ahead and click escape. Now, one thing thing I like about the M1 Finance desktop platform is you can get a decent amount of information about stocks, either within your portfolio or ones that you might be considering investing into. So for example, let's click on GLP to get more information. So it shows here that I have a current value in this stock of about $46,200. My gain here is made up of a market loss here of $5,600, but I have earned $2,141 in dividends. So they take the market loss, add back the dividends, and that gives me an overall gain here of negative about $3,500 or about 7.5%. So this gives you a really good snapshot, and it also shows you how the dividends have affected your overall gain or loss on that particular stock. And then if you were looking to invest more money into your portfolio, you can initiate a manual transfer by basically clicking this blue deposit button right here, and you select what account it's coming from, where you want to put it, and how much money. Also, I have auto invest turned off right now just because I'm actually taking my dividends and paying that back towards my M1Borrow. But if you wanted to automatically reinvest your cash balance and rebalance your portfolio every time it hit $25 or more, you would simply turn this on and set your minimum cash balance. I think by default it is $25, but you can set it to 0, and that would mean that every time new money is added in the form of dividends, etc., it's rebalanced and invested across the portfolio. Now, if you jump over to the activity tab here, you can see everything that's been going on with your M1 Finance account. So in my case here, you can see I earned a couple of dividends here. This one was pretty big from GLP Global Partners. I earned a dividend of $943.62. Earned dividend here from National Grid of $342.79. That was a stock that I had sold. And you can also see here dividends being earned. You can see the bill payment for my M1Borrow as well being automatically deducted every single month. So basically what it does is it sells a small amount of whatever stock I'm overweight in and puts that money towards the interest payment automatically on my M1Borrow. If you jump over to the holdings tab, it's going to show you your overall gain or loss. Right now, as I said, I put a lot of money into small caps, and so I am down about 14% in the short term, and it breaks it down across the different stocks that you own. So this section here of the desktop platform shows you your overall funding history with your account, basically money that went in versus money that came out. So as you can see here, I invested heavily during the pandemic. I put in about $151,000, and I had an outflow or withdrawal of about $68,400. This year, as you can see, I have taken out a lot more money than I put in just because I was selling off some long-term capital gains from those pandemic purchases of those blue chip stocks. So I've only had about $8,000 of deposits and $72,000 of withdrawals. I don't believe that paying back your M1Borrow counts as a withdrawal, but I also put $30,000 from my invest account towards my M1Borrow. So that's how I basically took about $100,000 off the table from this account and basically changed up those allocations. But this gives you a really good snapshot of the money coming in and the money going out of your M1 Finance invest account. The next thing I want to show you guys here is related to M1Borrow. I want to show you what this looks like on my end. So as you can see, I currently have $26,819 borrowed at an interest rate of 2% because I have the M1 Plus subscription. Right now, I'm sitting at good in terms of my status, and that means that I'm not really at any risk here for having my stocks sold. It does say we will issue a maintenance call if your account value drops by 40%. So my account value would have to drop by about $41,000 instantly or over a period of time. If that were to happen, at that point, they may sell some of my stocks to pay back this loan. You can see where I borrowed and then where I've repaid, as well as how much interest I've accrued. And I currently am using 90% of my limit. So if I wanted to, I could borrow an additional $3,000 and have that deposited to my brokerage account or my bank account by the end of the week. However, right now I'm actually paying this down just because I put that money towards my truck. So that's why I'm pretty much just chipping away at this and putting my dividends towards my M1Borrow balance. The very last thing I'm going to show you guys here is the research section of the desktop platform. You can do the same thing on the app, but I prefer to do this on desktop just so I have a better time reading. Right on the front page here under research, you're going to get a news stream with relevant articles related to the stock market, as well as performance of the overall stock market indexes. After that, you can click on stocks to enter the stock screener section. And honestly, for a free tool, I find this to be pretty awesome. You can set minimum or maximum market cap, PE ratio, dividend yield, and even choose sectors that you're looking to invest in. So for example, let's say I was looking for a utility stock with a minimum dividend yield of 2% and a maximum of 5%. That is going to show me exactly those right here. There's 67 total, and then I could do individual research on these. You can see the PE ratio on the side, and you can toggle between 1 year, 2 year, and 5 year performance just to see how each of these stocks have performed. So I really like this tool here for basically stock screening. If you don't know like what stock you want to invest in, but you're looking for different criteria, it's super helpful to get new ideas about potential investments. Now you can do the same thing as well with index funds and ETFs. You have different criteria here like assets under management, dividend yield, and expense ratio, and then all of the different categories. So let's say I wanted to invest in alternatives and I wanted a minimum dividend yield of 2%. That's going to show me exactly this right here for my additional research. Under the My Pies section, this is going to show you your active investment pie. For me, this is called my defensive/speculative growth portfolio. But what's really cool here is you can make other pies even if you don't actually use them. So you can create other pies simply for means of tracking. So if you were, for example, looking at two different strategies, growth versus income, you could set up an income portfolio that you invest in, but then you could also set up a hypothetical growth portfolio and track it just for comparison's sake. So that's another really cool handy feature is you can make multiple pies and then track the performance without even actually investing in them. And then of course the expert pies, which I think are heavily slept on when it comes to M1 Finance. They have 7 different categories of portfolios that are completely management fee free to invest in. You have general investing, you have plans for retirement, which is target date retirement funds. These are funds that actually change their allocation over time. So you basically, I'll show you how it works. You go over here, you type in or you select what year you plan on investing in or retiring in, and then it's going to give you an aggressive, conservative, or moderate portfolio for a target retirement date of 2060 or whatever you put in. So if you're looking to passively invest for retirement, you can put your entire portfolio on autopilot with the automated features of M1 Invest. And if you wanted to, put that money into a TDF. That way you don't even have to think about it and you know that it's being reallocated on your behalf as you get closer to retirement. They have a whole category here called responsible investing if you're into any type of ESG investing. They have income earners, which are basically focused on deriving income from your portfolio. Hedge fund followers is really cool. I'll show you that in a second. And then they have stock and bond portfolios if you want to keep it simple, and then a couple of other strategies. So for hedge fund followers, if we click in here, you can follow the strategies of Berkshire Hathaway, of Icahn Capital, of Pershing Square. So if you wanted to basically follow their portfolios based on their regulatory filings, this is what these portfolios are made to do. And then lastly, you can create watch lists right within the M1 Finance research component. I personally have not done this yet, but if you are, screening through a lot of stocks and looking to keep track of them right within the platform on mobile or desktop, you can make these watch lists. So anyways, guys, that is going to wrap up this mega video here on M1 Finance. I really hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully this is going to help you out with your investing journey. If you're looking for more information about M1 Finance, I do have a completely free 30-minute step-by-step tutorial that will walk you through how to get started with an M1 Finance portfolio. We covered most of the basics in this video, but you may find a bit more information over there. I'll put that link down in the description below. Like I said, if you want to give back to me, feel free to use my link to sign up for M1 Finance. One last time, I'll pop that QR code up on the screen. You just got to snap a picture with your phone, and it will take you right over to that link at no additional cost to you. You can give back to me if you want for putting this video together. If you guys made it to the very end, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to be notified of those future uploads. And as always, I hope to see you in the next video.